Right, there has been plenty of debate recently online around Chelsea Football Club's record signing Enzo Fernandez, because after a very much up and down campaign last season that started off badly, finished well and culminated in manager Mauricio Pochettino being sacked, Enzo's namesake, Enzo Maresca, was appointed. And one of the first things that we felt that he would be able to do is unlock the potential of the Argentinian World Cup winner. However, just 9 games into this Premier League season, Enzo Fernandez has now officially been dropped to the B team. And to say things are looking bleak right now for the Argentinian may well be an understatement. So in today's video, we are going to discuss Enzo Fernandez's current form, and here to do so with me is my good friend and channel fan favourite, the big dog, Joshua Aveste.
I'm here. And do you know what? I'm not a member of the Enzo Hate Club, unlike you.
Neither am I.
Yeah. So why have you got the membership card out on the desk in front of you if you are not part of the club?
Because you get student discount with it.
That's why you joined the membership club.
Do you think I could ever pass for like? Do you know what annoys me? Yeah, I think it's the tash. It's definitely the tash. It's not the fact that I look older. Since I grown the tash, I don't get ID'd nowhere.
It's really annoying when that period stops.
Yeah.
When you stop getting ID'd, that's a bit of a decline into middle age. And you are now close to middle age.
30, not quite. I'm a third of the way through.
I mean, closer to middle age than at the start now, isn't it?
Well, no.
You're closer to middle age than you were to 0.
Right, let's talk about Enzo, because now you're just starting to really fuck me off, to be honest.
No, but you don't look 30. In the comments, let us know, does Joey look 30?
Mate, do you know what it is, yeah?
Yeah.
These lot,
Yeah.
godsends. Honestly, I think every single one of these people are just the most lovely-hearted, nice people on earth, right? But the boxing channel, they fucking rip me to pieces, mate.
What do you keep saying on boxing to piss people off so much?
I don't. I just got a punchable face, maybe. Something like that. But honestly, they're all like, oh, he looks 40. What would this fucking idiot know about boxing? It's like, do you know what? Probably a little bit more than you. Sat on your home, your mum's sofa eating cheese balls every night, playing GT. That does actually sound quite good, though, doesn't it?
That actually sounds quite fun.
That does
Yeah,
actually
I
sound
kind of want to do
quite
that
good.
myself. I'll tell you who looks younger than his age.
Enzo Fernandez?
Enzo Fernandez.
Yeah.
He's only 23.
He is only 23, which means there is a lot of time for things to improve. There is a lot of times for things to come good with Enzo Fernandez. But I think that we need to discuss his current ability, where he is in this Chelsea squad, and there's probably no better place to start than last night. Obviously, we did run out 2-0 losers to Newcastle at St James's Park.
I never cared about the Carabao Cup anyway, to be honest.
As soon as they took away the Carling Cup, I didn't care, because do you know why? Do you know why?
I never wanted to win it anyway. Go on, tell me.
As soon as you took away the alcohol element to anything, it becomes non-exciting.
Yeah.
And that is why sobriety is for losers.
Except that you are now sober and have been for quite a while.
How long have I been sober?
We had a debate last time and I said it was 3 weeks, but it might be 10 days.
I think now it's 3 weeks.
It might actually be 10 days.
And by the way, what are the hardcore...
Looking good for it.
Oh, yeah. It's knocking years off me. I reckon next time when I do fall off the wagon, I reckon they're going to start IDing me. The hardcore will probably notice something as well.
Go on, what's that?
Well, the fucking medication's working.
It's looking really way
quite
better.
Well, aren't I?
A lot of people, the hardcore, were incredibly worried about your face.
They were.
Yeah.
They were.
I had a couple
and
of people
that was
ask me-
before the injury.
Yeah, I had a couple of people say to me, you've done a Zac Efron.
Yeah, he don't look good, does he?
Well, has he had a facial injury?
Yeah.
Or has he just had a lot of Botox?
Facelift.
Yeah.
Let's speak about a very good-looking man in Enzo Fernandez. Now, last night he played the full 90, and let's be honest, he looked shaky, to put
thought
it
you were gonna
lightly.
say shit.
No. I will do in a minute. No, he looked shaky, to put it lightly. He was a little bit better in the second half, but poor performance from a £100 million player, I would say. Or do you know what? Just from a Premier League level footballer. Because when you look at Enzo Fernandez's game last night against Newcastle, right? 138 touches,
Yeah.
just the one key pass in that game, 0 big chances created, 1 out of 8 crosses completed. And
It's not looking good, is it?
It's not looking good. I've got to tell you this, mate. He lost possession 23 times.
Do you know the one that was the worst one for me? Now, let's take our minds back to the first half of that game. We were under quite a lot of pressure. In fact, I think this might have happened before the goals even went in. He played a ball over to a switch pass over to the best player that has ever played for Chelsea, Mikhailo Mudryk.
Of course.
Yeah, and he was nowhere near Mikhailo Mudryk. I think it was about 10 to 15 yards behind him. And that, for me, was a bit endemic of his recent
Are you
form.
holding him to Cole Palmer standards, though?
Well, Cole Palmer can pass it wherever he wants. If he keeps
Through the
putting
eye
it in
of a
the
needle.
if he keeps putting it in the goal hole, Cole Palmer can score a few own goals, and I won't really mind.
I wouldn't even mind. Wouldn't even
Sassy's
mind.
starting that as well.
Wouldn't even mind. Now,
Yeah.
the problem for Enzo Fernandez here is obviously in recent weeks, he has now been dropped into what we call the B team, right? The B team is what played last night. He's been dropped into the B team in place of Romeo Lavia. Now, I was sat here. How many months are we going to go back for in terms of how long I've been calling for Romeo Lavia
I
over
think
Enzo
it
Fernandez?
could very nearly be a year. I think it might be 10 months.
I think.
Because I think it was in January time last year.
And what did they do to me?
Tell me.
They castrated me.
They absolutely castrated you and castigated you.
No, they just castrated me for it.
So the comments, for the context here, I think we need to give some context to the situation.
Right.
The comments, we've said a lot of things about Enzo Fernandez, both positive and negative, over the course of his career thus far. And I think, to be honest with you, I think we've kind of been quite fair and quite nice to Enzo Fernandez over the time.
Yep.
Overall. But a lot of people in the comments, rightly so or wrongly so, let's debate it, have said that you're a little bit harsh on Enzo Fernandez. Now, I think really what we should do now is have a chat about the data and the stats, because that's the only way to really understand if Enzo Fernandez is underperforming.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, what we're doing is we're comparing Enzo Fernandez, 120 million euro player signing, one of the most expensive signings in Premier League history, to what we expect him to be able to do in a Premier League shirt. And I think we've got to look at the data, because it's not just our opinions, because our opinions can be wrong as fans, but the data doesn't lie.
The data doesn't lie. The data can also sometimes be misleading. Whatever I do, I make sure that I get my data from Squawker, who are obviously today's video sponsors.
What scorecard? I've never.
You don't know what Squawker is?
Yeah, tell me.
Get out. Squawker are the best website in the football game.
What
my
can you do?
friend.
What can you do on Scorecard?
Do you want to know my favourite feature on Squawker? Player comparison matrix. Do you want to know how the player comparison matrix works?
Where have you used the player comparison matrix?
I've used them in this video, mate. So you keep watching and you're going to see some Squawker player comparison matrix in a minute. But I don't even need to dip in to the player comparison matrix we're about to see at the minute, because what we've got here is we've got a brilliant eye sample, right? The eye test, basically, because we played the same team in a matter of hours, haven't we?
Yes.
Really? It's been, 72, 4 days, something like that, since we played Newcastle. And obviously in the previous match against Newcastle, the one that you can clearly now see that Enzo Maresca felt was the more important game to win, especially when you go on his selection last night and his reluctance to even include a lot of our best players in the squad, let alone bring any of our best players off of the bench. You look at the man who started in what I feel was the place of Enzo Fernandez. That man was Romeo Lavia. Now, he only had 58 touches in that match, in comparison to Enzo Fernandez's 136 touches last night. But it's about what he did with those 58 touches, 1 assist, a 95% pass completion rate, as opposed to Enzo's 88% success rate last night. He registered 100% successful long balls. That was more than any other Chelsea player or any other Newcastle player had registered on the field. Also, more than any other Chelsea player or any other Newcastle player was the amount of successful passes in the final third, which was 10 for Romeo Lavia. Weird that, isn't it? Because when people were just saying, oh, no, he's a like for like with Caicedo, and I was saying, no, I've watched a lot of Romeo Lavia. He's way more than that. A little bit now, looking like the stats are starting to show that, but we won't get into that. 2 key passes also, 2 interceptions, and alongside Caicedo, played a very key part in us winning that midfield battle against Newcastle.
Yeah.
So I've obviously been calling for Romeo Lavia's inclusion for quite a long time now on this channel. And you know what? The stats can be misleading. So what I think we've got to do is we've got to look at the eye test. And I want you to tell me right now,
Yeah.
would you say we look a massively less creative side with Romeo Lavia in there instead of Enzo Fernandez?
At the moment, no. Last season, I might have said, do you know what? We need Enzo's creativity. But that was mainly at the start of the season. I think in the last 12 months or so, when Enzo's not been in the team, I don't think we've missed that creativity. But, you know, the eye test sometimes, as we say, could be misleading. I tell you what, if people do want to get access to that comparison matrix, by the way, what they can do is click the link in the description below.
There you go.
Because that will take you directly to the score comparison matrix. You can do it yourself.
And what a lot of people will sort of, again, look at is the fact that that run we went on last season was a run that we went on in the final, 7 games, was it?
Yeah.
About 6, 7, it might be as many as 8 games.
Yeah.
So when Enzo obviously came out of the team to have the hernia surgery, right?
Yes, who apparently we were led to believe he was suffering with all season.
Yeah.
But I've got some stats for you on Enzo being in the team and Enzo being out of the team. Do you think I can give you those right now?
I would love you to give me it right now.
Strap yourselves in, because I don't think this is going to be very good reading for those fans.
Wait, explain to me, what do you mean in and out the team?
So we've got the stats for when Enzo is playing and when Enzo isn't playing.
What do you mean in terms of points accumulated?
I've got
win percentage?
all of the above. Get ready for it.
Right.
So looking at the games, there's been 66 games that Enzo's played and 21 without. When Enzo was played, guess the win percentage for me, Joe. In 66 games.
Well, he obviously came in during a turbulent time, played under 2 permanent managers, and then we had the game under whatever his name was, which
Bruno Salter.
Bruno, which I think was the Liverpool game.
Your favourite Sacha Baron Cohen movie as well, actually, that is Bruno.
I've not actually watched it, to be fair.
Wow.
But we had
we can watch that later on if you like.
Definitely. we had a turbulent time. We also had obviously the start under Pochettino that wasn't great, and then this season we've been a lot better. I'm not going to go too high. I'm going to look at the win percentages of some of the more successful Chelsea managers, and it's in the high 60s. And therefore, I'm actually going to go very unambitiously low with this and say that with Enzo in the team, maybe 50%.
When I said strap yourself in, I hope you've got a seatbelt ready for this.
Yeah.
We've got a 35% win rate
when
Enzo is playing.
Fucking hell.
Do you want to know the percentage when Enzo isn't playing?
How many matches is there to go on?
21.
21. So a decent chunk. You're not going on 4, 5, 6 matches here.
Yeah, no data. It's a good amount of data.
Go on, give me
81% win rate when Enzo does not play for Chelsea.
Are they...
This is a legit stat from a reputable source.
That's fucking mental.
It is mental. Not only...
Hold on. No.
Not only is it the win percentage, Joey. Not only is it that. What about goals scored per game? With Enzo Fernandez, it's 1.6. And you might be thinking, over 1 goal a game, that's not too bad. That's all right. What about 2.48 without him in the team? And then I'll do one more for you. Goals conceded per game. He's a defensive midfielder. You expect him to be able to mitigate some of the passes, mitigate some of the goals. With Enzo Fernandez in the team, it's 1.55 goals conceded. Without him, it's only 1.
That is mental.
The stats are really damning, really concerning from that perspective. And these aren't, as you say, this is a decent amount of games. And so it's worrying. There were a lot of people anecdotally saying last season that with Caicedo and Enzo, it didn't work. When Caicedo had another partner, like a Conor Gallagher, everything clicked. Everything seemed right. And you know what? I'm really glad we found that piece of data because I think that proves it.
So is there any way we could play devil's advocate here and say that maybe if you put Enzo with another partner, it clicks and it works even better and you see that creativity come out of him?
Yeah, maybe. For me,
But
we haven't seen that much.
at the same time, why on earth would you displace Caicedo
You're not going to drop
when
Caicedo.
he is he's definitely within the top 3, if not top 2, most consistent performing Premier League players, I would say, over the last 10 months.
I'm very happy to whack 50 quid on it now that Moises Caicedo will be in the Premier League team of the season.
Yeah. There's no point us having that bet because I would agree with it.
But that tells you everything you need to know. Why the hell would we be dropping Moises?
So then the question is Romeo Lavia or Enzo Fernandez?
Yep.
And here is where it comes back in of our little friend's scorecard. Because as you can see on screen now,
Yep.
I have got some player comparison matrix for this season between Enzo Fernandez and Romeo Lavia. Now, I understand that Romeo Lavia has only started half of the games that Enzo Fernandez has. Only played half of the games, I should say, that Enzo Fernandez has. So instead of doing it per game, I've done it per 90 minutes.
Fair play.
I'll read you out the areas that Romeo Lavia is excelling Enzo Fernandez
By the way,
in.
for everyone watching, if it's green, it means that that person's winning.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to see.
If it's green,
graphic.
that player should be seen
Yeah.
on the pitch. Romeo Lavia excelling Enzo Fernandez at the moment in passes completed, passing accuracy, long pass accuracy, in through balls, both exactly the same at this moment
But
in
the
time.
criticism was that Lavia was nowhere near as good at Enzo on the through ball. So if they're the same,
Yeah,
just saying.
yeah. And not blowing my own trumpet, but let's rewind a little bit and remember a lot of my comments about how good Romeo Lavia was at playing those through balls. Those through balls, which, by the way, were pretty much on the tin for Enzo Fernandez. That's what we were told that he does, okay? So, anyway, then we move on, and we move on to passes completed in their own half. Romeo Lavia. Now, that's a stat that, again, it's a stat that goes in favour of Romeo Lavia. It's ultimately not a stat that I'm that bothered about, to be honest, right? Then you go on to tackles made, and they're actually the same, okay?
That surprises me because we were always told that Enzo didn't have the numbers in terms of tackling. He was always meant to be a more creative player. So I actually think that's actually quite a big win for Enzo in the comparison.
Yep.
To be fair.
Yeah,
I think
definitely. Take on success. Romeo Lavia excelling Enzo Fernandez by some margin.
Yeah, but again, DMs, you don't necessarily need them to be taking on people, but it's good that they can.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a negative.
Aerial dual success, Romeo Lavia, 100%. What you might say about that is that might be because of a lack of aerial duels competed for. Sometimes when you see 100%, but still...
Lavia is very good, though.
He's
got some spring to him.
This is what I'm saying. And still, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, it's just because he's only competed for one. I think that you could see 4 or 5 in there or something. And he's won all of them, right?
Yep.
Okay. Ground duel success. Now, there you go once again when we talk about Romeo Lavia against Enzo Fernandez from a defensive aspect. Romeo Lavia obviously excelling him there. Interceptions, so much better
Way more.
for Romeo Lavia.
I mean, Enzo at 0.4 basically means he's doing less than 1 a game.
Yeah.
Which is mad.
Ball recoveries, better for Romeo Lavia. But remember, just because it's green, it doesn't mean it's miles better. Very, very similar.
It's basically the same.
Basically the same.
Yeah.
And possession loss.
Which is a very key thing in a DM playing for Chelsea under pressure. That is a key stat, I would say.
So when we look at that key stat, and we look about, is it marginal?
No.
Much like the ball recoveries
It's not
were.
marginal.
It's not marginal at all.
At all.
Would you say on those statistics that those statistics are, I don't want to say damning for Enzo Fernandez, but they are statistics that would show you that Romeo Lavia is without any shadow of a doubt in this team for good reason ahead of Enzo Fernandez at this moment in time?
I think what it proves more than anything, Joey, is that Enzo Maresca is obviously using the Squawker comparison matrix because he's using the data that we've got. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that Enzo Maresca has looked at the numbers. You know what these guys do. They have unbelievable analyst teams and they get provided data at an unbelievable rate, a rate in which we could never fathom, to be honest with you. And I think that Maresca has seen the data and I think he has dropped him for this reason. I think it's quite clear. I mean, those numbers, if we've just got those numbers able to access publicly, imagine all of the data points that they've got to access those individual players. Something has massively gone wrong.
But then the problem is, I have been getting it in the neck for months about being an Enzo hater, right? On this channel. You're an Enzo hater. You're an Enzo hater. Well, here's the problem. The whole time that I've been saying this, I haven't been asking Enzo Fernandez to be dropped for Cesar Casadei, for Ugo Chukwu, for Andre Santos when he was still there, who, by the way, that's another one that we might get onto because he might give Enzo Maresca a headache when he does come back, right? I have been saying that when Romeo Lavia is fit and available, Romeo Lavia will need to take the place of Enzo Fernandez. And I completely understand why the naysayers were quite aggressive in their stance, coming from me in the comments and saying, Romeo Lavia's played hardly any football. Where are you getting this from? And do you know what? I wasn't getting it from the stats. I was getting it on the eye test. But now we've just had the stats to back it up. Now, here's where I want to be very, very clear. Do you think Enzo Fernandez is a bad player, Josh?
I absolutely don't. I don't.
I think Enzo Fernandez, to quote Harry Redknapp, is a terrific little player.
Terrific.
Yeah? No. Terrific.
Oh, sorry.
Terrific.
Yeah. Sorry, if I'm Harry Redknapp.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Right.
No, the key thing with both of us, right? We don't hate this guy. Like, I actually really want him to succeed. And I actually do want him to turn this around. I would love it. And this isn't anything against Romeo Lavia, because I absolutely love Lavia as well. I would love Enzo Fernandez to prove us all wrong and stick one big finger up and just go, you guys were all wrong.
Yep.
You should have stuck with me and I can improve as a player. I'll tell you one thing. Enzo Maresca is very good at like bringing players around and improving them. So I hope that does happen. But you have to say, right now, football is a tough game. Football is a game in which small things can happen and that can mean that you're not in the team, right? But this isn't small things. This is consistent, aggressive data that we can see that proves that he's not performing. And it's not because we dislike the guy.
No.
I want him to be successful. And also the elephant in the room is that he's not going to get sold. He's not going anywhere. 120 million euros. First of all, no one's going to be able to pay that. On transfer market now, he's only worth 75 million euros.
Yep.
We're not going to be able to offload this guy. So he's going to be around. He's on a very long contract.
Now, in my opinion, Enzo Fernandez is a player that blows hot and cold. And when he's blowing hot, you will see some great performances from him. You'll see games like the Aston Villa game when he smacked in that free kick and he looked really, really good.
Palace.
I remember away at Crystal Palace.
Yep.
Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. Away at Crystal Palace. The problem is when he is blowing cold, he is, in my opinion, responsible for us dropping points. And we are not at a stage in our progression at this moment in time where we can have that, okay? So as much as we look at the likes of Robert Sanchez and even the mistakes that Jorgensen made last night against Newcastle, and we speak about that and we say that's an area that needs to be addressed, right? I believe that's an area, because of the area on the pitch that they are, is just more of a visible problem. And I believe that for months now, I've been seeing this problem and people have been pushing back against it because it's not as much of a visible problem. And do you know why? Because if a ball goes past Robert Sanchez, for example, there's no one there to save him. And if Enzo Fernandez puts a mistake wrong, he's had the luxury before of having Conor Gallagher there with him, of having Caicedo there with him. And now I believe that some of these flaws are being exposed. However, what I want to say is that Enzo Fernandez in a certain system is a brilliant player. I think for Argentina, Enzo Fernandez is a brilliant player. How many times have I said to you that I think that Enzo Fernandez could go into Manchester City's team and he could be a starter for them?
You've said that over and over again.
I've said that over and over again. So if I'm saying that Enzo Fernandez could go and play for Manchester City, that does not mean that I think that Enzo Fernandez is a bad player. What I'm saying is at this moment in time, the system does not suit Enzo Fernandez. Now, maybe it means that we need to find a system that works for Enzo Fernandez, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It might mean
Maybe.
that. It might mean that.
Maybe.
But then do we not ask ourselves the question, well, hold on, if something's not broke, then why are we trying to fix it? And at the moment, the system that we are playing, yes, I understand it's not got us competing for the Premier League at this moment in time, but my God, it's looking a million times better than it had looked in the past.
Better
And the
position than we were
ironic
last
thing
season.
about this is when would you say Enzo Fernandez's best spell of form for Chelsea Football Club was?
Probably when he first signed.
When he first signed.
Yeah, he was playing in the midfield with Kovacic and Jorginho and outshining both of them, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was.
yeah.
He came in and he looked a level above.
He did.
And then I feel like he has regressed. And actually, I understand that the club regressed massively, but now everyone else is getting better and everyone else is leveling up. You're looking to Enzo Fernandez, especially when he's got that captain's armband on, and we're going, well, hold on, we need you to be leveling up. Now, what I think is this. If you take away the financial aspect of it, I actually think that... Right, take away the finances, take away, and by the way, you can't just take these things away. You can't just take these things away, but let me just give it simple man's logic, right? Take away the finances, take away the fact that feathers are going to be ruffled and players are going to be left upset, and then you say to yourself, you've got a midfield two of Caicedo and Romeo Lavia, and maybe on the hour mark in games at some point, you can maybe sub off even... potentially not one of those two, potentially an inverted fullback or something like that, and you can bring on Enzo Fernandez. Now, I think that having Enzo Fernandez as a third-choice midfielder is probably better than any club in the Premier League can offer, because I think Enzo Fernandez is a great player. But at the same time as that, did Enzo Fernandez, when he arrived for over £100 million, believe that at this point, 2.5 years into his stint at Chelsea Football Club, he would be playing third choice?
Absolutely not. I think he would have expected to be the out-and-out first name on the team sheet for Chelsea. Not just in the midfield, by the way. Just total. And can I just say one thing? For all of the people that are defending Enzo Fernandez, I really respect that. Do you know why? Because I think there have been so many players that have come to Chelsea that haven't been backed, that their confidence has gone, and that their career has just waned in such a level, and they've regressed to such a poor level that they never really have a career. But actually, maybe he is a confidence player, and maybe like people getting around him can improve him. And through a lot of adversity, people are still backing Enzo Fernandez. And I respect it. I think the point that we're saying is, we just want to see better performing players in the first team. Do you know 100%. What I mean? But I really respect the people that are backing him up. And I hope there are people in the comments, even now, saying, do you know what? I still rate Enzo and I still think he should be in the A team. Because ultimately, they're backing a Chelsea player. Yeah. Fair enough.
100%. And listen, I sit here time in, time out and raise my hands to the fact that I was wrong about Marc Cucurella. I, at the start of the season, started to think that I might have even been wrong about Robert Sanchez, but now I'm not too sure. But who knows? Things change quickly in football. Now, as we're speaking right now, you can also see some graphics used again by Squawker, where I've just picked a few random players that I see are playing in similar positions to Enzo Fernandez, and I've used the player comparison matrix to actually compare Enzo Fernandez to some of the other players in the Premier League. So obviously you've got the two in midfield for Man United, Christian Eriksen and Kobbie Mainoo. We've got Ryan Gravenberch on the end now. Obviously, Ryan Gravenberch having a really good season at Liverpool, but I've tried to pick from a pool of players that when I've studied the heat maps of these players, they're all more or less playing similar roles in similar positions. And as you can see there, out of the 14 odd categories that I've picked for, there's only actually 2 where Enzo Fernandez is coming out on top. And that is in through balls, which is level with Christian Eriksen. And that is in tackles made, which he's very, very similar to Kobbie Mainoo, but he does excel. Whereas in every other category here, you can see that over the likes of a Christian Eriksen, of a Kobbie Mainoo, over a Ryan Gravenberch, he's not excelling. Now, as I said, Gravenberch, he's having a really good season. But Man United at the moment are sat, 14th in the league?
Yeah.
You know, we're hardly singing from the rooftops about a Christian Eriksen or a Kobbie Mainoo at at the minute. Now, Kobe Mainoo's a great player, and I'm sure if he was to get sold, there would be a hefty transfer fee on his head. And you have to factor in age and things like that. But when you look at it, especially, and you compare those stats to Christian Eriksen, it doesn't look all that good. But now you can see another graphic on screen where I've compared Enzo Fernandez's stats for this season to two players that we let go of.
Two fan favourites, I would say.
Two fan favourites.
I would say
two
they
fan
were.
favourites in terms of Mateo Kovacic and Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
Miss both of these boys, by the way.
Again, you can see that I'm not saying there aren't areas here that Enzo Fernandez doesn't excel in. You know, he does have more chances created than Kovacic, obviously less than Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who's smashing it over in Serie A. But obviously, there are areas that he considerably underperforms in comparison to those players. And the reason I think that this is important to address this is because obviously that when we brought Enzo Fernandez in, I understand we can look at the age of those players and we can look at the fact that we were in a position maybe with academy players like Loftus-Cheek where we felt we had to move them on at the time, but we kind of thought, or we would have hoped for 100 million or to be upgrading, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
And the stats are showing us at the moment that we maybe haven't upgraded. The eye test is showing us at the moment that we maybe haven't upgraded. So I want you to give me some hope here, Josh, because this is something you can often do, right? Give me some hope other than using the Cucurella example that things are going to start to come good and they're going to start to tick for Enzo Fernandez.
I think ultimately he's got the trust of the manager, hasn't he? And maybe people will say that's mad for me to say because he's been dropped and he's very much in the B team at the moment. But the fact is, after what was a turbulent summer for Enzo Fernandez, he's come into the team and started, bearing in mind the Reece James injury, as club captain.
Yep.
And so I think Enzo Maresca is a bit of a straight shooter, right? If he didn't rate Enzo Fernandez's mentality and his desire in training, I don't think he would have made him captain. So Enzo Maresca, who is a good judge of character, has obviously valued him, you know, as being a key member of the team. And in a team in which he said that we lack leaders, obviously Enzo Fernandez is one that he trusts. And so I think on attitude alone, you would say that Enzo Fernandez is a fighter, is a guy that wants to improve, is a guy that's young enough to grow and develop. And so you very much hope that the mentality will match what is undoubtedly a core ability of technique. Like, you can't say that Enzo Fernandez doesn't have techers. You can't say that he can't whip in a ball or make a switch pass or do an exquisite through ball or actually even at times take a good shot. You know, we've seen all of those things. Maybe not consistently and maybe not the shots. But
maybe,
do you know what?
Maybe not shooting. I'd have to disagree with you. I think his shooting's poor.
Do you know what? In a Chelsea shirt, yes, but I've seen clips of him for Argentina and at his previous clubs where he's smacked the ball into the back of the net with technique and power. So, like, I do think there is a situation and a scenario in which Enzo Fernandez has that arc. And, you said not to say it, but the fact is for all of the reasons that I've mentioned there, I think that's entirely a possibility. Yeah. It's now up to him to screw his head on, to knuckle down and to say, I don't feel like I deserve to be in the B team anymore. Yep. And I feel like I should be competing to be in that A team. The thing is, he's got to now displace Romeo Lavia, and that will not be an easy task. Unless,
God forbid, touch wood, injury occurs, and then I do think that Enzo Fernandez is a great option to have there. One thing that I think we'll speak about on another day, because I think that we'll start to wrap this video up, is we have got a boy out on loan, Andre Santos, at the moment, who's looking very, very good.
I would say very good is an understatement. Yeah. I think he's looking elite. I mean, if you look at the numbers in Ligue 1, I mean, he was very close to top goal scorer numbers as a DM. And look, I can't say I've watched every single match of Strasbourg, but I've seen a lot of examples of, his play. And what I've seen, he looks so calm and solid on the ball. He looks like he's running all over the pitch. I'd love to see some heat maps of Andre Santos. I think they would be a joke. He's been up and down the pitch everywhere. I've seen him take touches in his own box, run the full length of the pitch and get goals. I mean, this kid, 20 years old, can do it all. And do you know what? Credit to the scouting team. They've obviously identified him and they've realised that he does need a bit of time to bed into European football. But I tell you what, I've heard a lot of people saying they want to bring him back in January, not in the summer. And
I'd have him back.
I would have him back.
Good.
And actually, maybe this is mad to say, but I honestly do feel that we made a mistake sending him out on another loan. Now, you could argue that he's going out to France, he's building his confidence, building his technique ability. Maybe he will improve and come back stronger. But, I mean, I feel like he's outplaying Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah.
I think there is an argument to say that he's outperforming Enzo Fernandez. So
Dewsbury Hall, by the way, absolutely shit
he
last night.
stank out the game, but he's playing a right wing. I mean, talk about mistakes from Enzo Maresca. I mean, playing at Dewsbury Hall as a right winger. Unfortunately, I feel that was forced by the Sancho illness, which he picked up an illness, late in the day and obviously didn't play.
Either way, what I'm saying here, right, is Enzo Fernandez, for me, comes nowhere near the likes of Antony for Manchester United, Romelu Lukaku for Chelsea, Shevchenko for Chelsea, some of these huge name signings who have literally just been flops, right? But what I would say is the data that we read from Benfica maybe wasn't quite what we felt we were getting. I think that miraculous Argentina World Cup win that was obviously led by Lionel Messi might have skewed our perception ever so slightly. And I think that the level that we're seeing Enzo Fernandez play at in the last sort of season to start all of last season and, the start of this season is maybe his level. And that, for me, is a brilliant option to have in your squad, in what we would call the B team at the moment. But for Enzo Fernandez to deserve a place ahead of Romeo Lavia, I'm going to need to see twice as much from him. And if I do see twice as much from him, I will be delighted to see that. So I think we're going to have to wrap this one up, Josh, by just saying the jury's still out on Enzo Fernandez. And that jury's been out for about 2.5 years now.
But I very much hope that he has that Phoenix-esque career, Phoenix Rising-esque career.
1.5 years, sorry.
Like a Cucurella.
Yeah.
I hope he does. But at the moment, the stats and sort of the eye test indicates that his form is decreasing and waning as opposed to getting better. So he's got a lot of work to do.
I'm definitely not ready to sit here and say, we need to sell Enzo Fernandez, we need to move him on, we need him out of the club or anything like that. And I do very much think that you're going to see Enzo Fernandez contribute significantly in that Europa Conference League. But at the same time, despite money going mad in football, we have to, it's not on the player's head, but we have to bring it back to the fact that we did not spend £100 million to have a player who is a great player in the Conference League. We want players that can help push us on towards Premier League titles. And at the moment, you might argue, barring Cole Palmer, that none of them in the squad are quite ready. I would argue back against that. But what I do know is with Caicedo and Lavia's performances at the moment, I don't feel that Enzo Fernandez should deserve a starting berth. Ultimately, we'll see, because we've just played 2 back-to-back massive games and Enzo Maresca has showed you that he is putting his faith in Romeo Lavia. Let's see how he goes against Man United, and we are about to record a preview for that Man United game this second, right now. I will see you all in the next one.